Well. It took a few years, but the mainstream media has caught up to me and started using the F word in reference to Donald Trump. Yep, they're starting to call him a fascist. Well, took long enough. Of course, it helps when his former chief of staff comes out and says it on the record. Yeah, that happened too. What a week. What a world. What the hell. Let's do this. It astounds me that we are this close to the election and it's still a complete toss up. And I think it says a lot about us as a whole and not a lot of good things about us as a whole. We've always been scared in this country of things like communism and dictatorships and things, the fascists, because you should be scared of those things because those things go against the American liberties that we were, brought up to believe are the case. That everybody in this country has freedoms and that you can do whatever you want to do. Now, that's not necessarily entirely true. There's certainly more justice if you can afford it, if you will. There's certainly more opportunity if you can afford it, if you will. There's definitely a unspoken caste system in this country where classes are separated by wealth. And it's been there for a long time. People of color, specifically black people, have been marginalized for generations since 1619. And this has been an ongoing open wound in the psyche of this country, that we were founded by a bunch of hypocrites who installed this kind of, I guess there's a lot of confusion about what government we actually have. If I hear one more Republican tell me we have a republic, not a democracy, I'm just going to slap them. It's both. A republic is a system of government where representatives of the people can create laws. The Constitution of the constitutional republic is basically a set of rules under which those representatives get to make laws. And then the democracy part is where you vote on those representatives who are going to make those laws on your behalf. It's difficult to have a direct democracy because you don't want everybody, all 300 million Americans voting on everything. Every situation that comes up is too difficult. There's just too many of us. So you appoint representatives and they're supposed to do that for you. Now, sorry, the dog's making noise here. So we are both a democracy and a republic. We are a constitutional republic that is based on democracy. That's how it works. So we weren't designed to be a dictatorship. We're designed to be communism wouldn't work well here either. The capitalist version of capitalism that we've had for 200 years is pretty ingrained in the system. It is cronyism capitalism. It's bad. It's a bad version of capitalism that needs reform. But it is what it is. We all believe in it more or less. And if it had ethics returned to it, it would once again work for more people, the vast majority of people. But it's never really been there. Even when it worked for the vast majority of white people, it didn't work for the vast majority of black people or Latino people or people of country, Asian Americans. It didn't work. It was like, that's why we had to have things like the civil rights movement. It is an ongoing process as we try harder and harder to make sure that I've mentioned this every once in a while, this first promise of this country, that all people are created equal, and you have certain unalienable rights like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's the first promise of the United States of America. And we're working toward that. And there are people who feel that by giving those rights, by giving rights to others, that they lose something. And that's not the way it works. There's not a finite amount of rights that we draw from. Everybody can have the same rights and freedoms. You don't have to subjugate others and force them to feel or think or do the things that you do. Now, that's what dictatorships are all about. That's what authoritarian governments are all about. That's what these things are all about. And you don't rise to that power accidentally. Donald Trump's trying to do it, and he's got the backing of people who believe in the process. Now, I don't even know that Donald Trump even cares anymore. Honestly, he's just running to keep his ass out of prison. But he's willing to do or say anything to make that happen. And I've talked on this podcast about fascism and how dangerous it is. And it's dangerous. It's straight up terrifying. Mass deportation. Do you think that in rounding up, quote unquote, they say that the number is 20 to 25 million undocumented immigrants. They're going to round up those 20 to 25 million people, put them in camps, and then deport them to other parts of the world. Do you think they're going to be able to accomplish that with any sort of accuracy? How many American citizens are going to be swept up in that? And how many people of color are voting for Donald Trump who are subject to that very dangerous proposition? The person that's voting for him could be swept up in these massive immigration raids that they're planning. This is dangerous stuff, not to mention the fact that it would just decimate our economy, but 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. These people don't know what they're doing. They're just running on rage fuel. And that's how fascism gets started. That's how it kicks off. And the more things get out of control, the tighter they will insist that the militaristic grip be squeezed around our necks. They won't care about the rest of the world. They're going to withdraw from the rest of the world and just worry about America first. That's what they keep saying, America first. America first is an old political slogan going back to the American Nazi Party. But I digress. I have said on this podcast that I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little uneasy. That's true. I'm a little scared. I honestly believe that the majority of Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans, are not interested in a fascist dictatorship. They're not interested in most of Donald Trump's policies. I saw a study by the Washington Post where they tested people on 100 policies without telling them whose policies they were. They tested them on 50 policies from Donald Trump and 50 policies from Kamala Harris. And almost all of the Kamala Harris policies were supported by at least half of the respondents. Donald Trump's were almost 50-50. But her policies straight up performed better because her policies are more geared toward the population as a whole. I think that there's a lot of confusion that goes along with these moments of governmental uncertainty. You sit there and you think, well, immigration, we've got to fix the immigration. So, yeah, we do, but it's a really complex problem. Just rounding up everybody and deporting them and raising a giant iron curtain around the country to keep people from coming back, that's not really a holistic approach. It's also not reasonable and probably not possible. People are going to get hurt. A lot of people. Probably killed, honestly. It's a dangerous policy, extremely dangerous policy. And that's just one of them. Donald Trump believing that he can run the American economy entirely on tariffs is absolutely insane. It's insane. They're offering tax cuts for everything. They basically want to stop taxation. Well, what the hell? I mean, libertarians may be licking their lips going, oh, wow, that sounds like a great deal. But then who funds the military? Who funds electric grids? Who funds roads and highways? Who funds the school systems? Who funds anything? Who funds the social security net? How are we going to make our world work? This big, complex, 350 million people in this country. How are we going to make it work? If we fire all the experts, if we stop believing in science, they want to outlaw, this is all Project 2025 stuff. They want to outlaw talking about things like climate change. Are you serious? What are we doing here? We're replacing science with these people's feelings. Anecdotal bullshit evidence. It's not even real. They're just lying to you. And that's what I wanted to get to in this episode. First of all, fascism is scary shit. Putting someone in charge of the country who is going to wield the military like their iron fist is a bad idea. It was beyond the pale for generations. My grandfather would have a massive coronary and die just having this discussion with me. That is, if he hadn't succumbed to the red pill because he was old and losing his faculties. But I tell you, this is not what they fought for in World War II. A man who worships Hitler, who echoes his rhetoric, who echoes his belief, who says things like, I wish I had generals like Hitler's generals. That would have been beyond the pale for the greatest generation. Those people, those men and women who sacrificed so much to get through World War II. And I'm not talking about just the people who fought in the war. If you were here, you had to make huge sacrifices to support the war effort. It was that big. It's a scary time, and these problems are very complex. If you sit down, you can have an hour discussion on the situation in the Middle East and not even scratch the surface of it. Now we want to put Donald Trump in charge of it, a guy who can't put 3 sentences together that make sense, and say, you make the ultimate decision on this. You realize how insane that sounds? He wants to do this. He wants to do this. None of these plans make any sense. And these are complicated systems. And they want to ignore science and just go with their gut feeling. And do you think this is a good idea? They want to put Elon Musk in charge of making sure that the government isn't wasting money. Hey, man, I'm all for figuring out how to better run this government, make it more efficient. But Elon Musk is your guy? Elon Musk bought Twitter for whatever it was, 64 million, I think it was $54 billion. And now it's worth about $9 billion. He's lost like almost the entire value of the company that he bought, that he overpaid for. He fired 75% of the people that worked there almost immediately. This is a guy who is anti-union. He's anti-labor. He's just a terrible boss, and he doesn't know shit. He's made some great investments. Congratulations, man. But I don't want this guy overseeing all of government spending. Are you fucking high? Oh. We all have to have, priorities. And Elon's was to take over one of the biggest media company. It's a social media group, but it was used to spread information quickly. And he trashed it. He absolutely trashed it. You can buy verification now. instead of earning it. You know, there was a time when you had to earn your blue check. That meant you were trustworthy. It meant you had jumped through the hoops and you were like a part of the media. Now you can buy that for whatever it is, $11 a month. I'm not paying anything for that shit. I'm on X still because I'm watching it burn to the ground. But almost entirely it's right-wing trolls and sex bots. You know, that's what I get in my feed. And it's just gross. It's just gross. And fascism is scary. And the people that this guy surrounds himself with are scary. And they're doing it all on lies and misinformation. And, you know, even this McDonald's publicity stunt he ran, where he goes in to run the fry, he said, what do you call it? The fry desk or fry counter or something like that. Like just go do something. God. Anyway, he puts on his apron for his photo op. It's a good looking photo op. It is. And then he's back there and they apparently cooked a set of fries. He worked the fries for like 5 minutes. Rumor has it. I don't believe that they were on. There was no steam coming off the fries as they cooked. I mean, I didn't work at McDonald's. I worked at a place called Mr. Burger. It was like a mom and pop owned place, but I have fried in a deep fryer. I have cooked burgers on the grill. I also worked at a place called Brahms, which is a combination, like it's kind of like a Dairy Queen. It's got hard ice cream, not soft serve, but hard ice cream and burgers and fries and stuff. And I have ran fries. Okay, that's not what I saw him do. There was not the same thing. I think that thing was cold and those fries were already done. But the rest, they closed the restaurant for the event. Of course, it makes perfect sense, but they didn't say that they had closed it. And then they allowed a string of pre-vetted people through the drive-through where Donald Trump handed out his food. And it's all staged. It's all cute. And it's all very, very, very staged. And they weren't honest about that part. The restaurant wasn't open. These are not real customers. This is not a real situation. He didn't really cook anything. And that's probably good because he would have burned the hell out of himself. I wouldn't trust the man to run a fryer. Why should I trust him to run the country? You wouldn't trust him to babysit your kids. Why should you trust him to run the country? And if you would trust him to babysit your kids, you're fucking lying to yourself. Everything that they do is some version of a lie. Look at the people that surround him. Look at Jack Dipshit Vance, who talked about Trump as America's Hitler, talked about how dangerous he was, talked about how he was a never Trumper, and now he's his biggest sycophantic fan. And he goes out there and he just straight up lies. He lies about what's happened in the past. He lies about what's happening now. He lies and lies and lies and lies and lies. And he does it so freely that it's seamless. We get caught up in his smoky eyeliner and we don't pay attention to the fact that everything he's saying contradicts things that he said in the past. Everything that he's saying contradicts evidence that we have in the present. Everything that he's saying is a dangerous future. Johnny Dickhead Vance is a danger to us all. And he's probably going to become president if you elect Donald Trump, because ain't no way Donald Trump is going to make it through another term. Bro is just barely hanging on. He seems like he's starting to slide into a little bit of dementia. If you saw him swaying on stage for 40 fucking minutes, why didn't anybody go out there and rescue his ass? Just go out there and say, sir, we've got an emergency call or something, and get him the hell out of there. Instead, he's out there bebopping around the YMCA, completely oblivious to the fact that it has been a gay anthem for, I don't know, since it was created. It's just wild. It's stunning. It's painful. And it's just, I watch all of this misinformation, this disinformation, and it's a completely, it's It's a completely unfair race because Kamala has to be flawless. Everything she does, like the guy there's a guy who fact checked Donald Trump. His name's Dale, Dennis Dale or something like that. He used to work for the Toronto newspaper. Is it the Star? My God. Anyway, now he works for CNN. And he was the primary fact checker for Donald Trump because he checked and counted every lie every day during his presidency. And he lied over 30,000 times in those 4 years. They had him fact check Kamala Harris. And the big headline was, she did not promise. She claimed that she promised she would not ban fracking in 2020. But that's not what she actually said. She promised that Biden would not ban fracking back in 2020. That was the fact check. Are we fucking real here? Are we for real? Donald Trump says crazy shit constantly. Lies constantly. I don't think J.D. Vance has said one true thing since he was announced as the vice presidential candidate. So Kamala has to be flawless. She has to be perfect. Every misstep is magnified 1 billion times. And all Donald Trump has to do is keep putting on that ridiculous tie and keep putting on that ridiculous oversized ugly ass suit and keep trotting his old ass out there. And he can stand up there and talk for 2 hours and Republicans talk about how much stamina he has while the rest of us listen to his words for 2 hours and go, Grandpa needs help. He should not be running for president. He should be in a home where people are taking care of him because he's barely hanging on. He's not running to be president. He's running to stay out of prison. He's going to be sentenced in the fraud case, the 34 felony counts of fraud that he committed and was found guilty of. He's going to be sentenced in that case later in November after the election. He still has other cases that are pending. January 6th. The documents case is not going away. Even though the judge that dismissed it after basically ignoring every part of precedent of special counsels going back to the beginning of the Reagan or the Nixon administration, end of the Nixon administration, and beginning of the Nixon administration. Anyway, Eileen Cannon, she's apparently one of his top 2 choices to become the new Attorney General of the United States. Someone who is willing to take a basically ironclad felony documents case against the president and just throw it out. Just throw it out. Because the special counsel wasn't legally appointed, which is not true. Not true. She just made that shit up. That case is not going away. Donald Trump is running to stay out of prison. Would I commute his sentence? Would I let him off the hook? Fuck no. So many illegal things and so many dangerous things and so many people that have lost their lives because of his decisions. COVID was real. I saw a poll by one of the major pollsters. What was it, Ipsos, I think? No, it was Gallup. It was a Gallup poll. It said 52% of respondents said that they were better off 4 years ago, and 38% said they were worse off. 38% said they were worse off, and 10% didn't know. 52% of people said they were better off 4 years ago. 4 years ago, it was, let's see, what day is it? October 24th. October 24th, 2020. That was 4 years ago. The pandemic is still fucking raging. There's no medication to save you if you contract COVID. There is no vaccine to prevent you from getting COVID. Businesses are still shuttered. PPP loans are going out to keep businesses afloat. And that was a Democratic Congress that did that, right? We sent out stimulus checks to try to keep people afloat. That's how things were terrible. My kid was in school. She was a first grader in virtual school, and I was in first grade with her, trying to teach a first grader how to use a computer to do her classwork. We were better off 4 years ago? Fuck you. No, we weren't. No, we weren't. The supply chain was already falling apart, and we were having shortages, and inflation had already started to rise. People have, memory hold what happened 4 years ago, but you shouldn't. It was a fucking disaster, and it was on Donald Trump's watch. He failed to act, and then he lied to you nonstop about it. Remember when he first came out and said it would be over in a couple of weeks? Remember that? Between that statement and now, over 1 million Americans have died, and over 6 million now, people have died worldwide from COVID. Millions. Remember when he refused to say you guys should wear masks? Remember when he caught COVID himself and almost fucking died, and then went back to the White House and he stood there and ripped off his mask to show that he was a tough guy? That's where we were 4 years ago. That's where we were 4 years ago, in case you had forgotten. And so now we sit here having to deal with the lies about how all of this was Biden's fault. Bullshit. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris rescued this country, kept us out of a recession, managed to land us softly economically. It's a miracle that our economy didn't fucking collapse in the aftermath of COVID-19, because Donald Trump mismanaged it that badly. And now he wants to be president again. And he's going to solve it all with tariffs, and we're going to drill for more oil. If you listen to my episode on fascism and empathy, you know that I covered that. That's not going to solve anything. Drilling for more oil doesn't solve anything. We need to decrease the amount of oil we produce, not increase it, dummy. So it's imperative that we do the right thing, that we remember how dangerous this man is, and now he's just surrounded by even more dangerous people. You need look no further than Johnny Dipshit Vance. I may have used that one before. Jack Donger Vance. It's Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Vance is a sycophant now. Completely turncoat. How can you trust someone that believed something, and this wasn't in the distant past. This was 7 years ago? Not to mention the fact that this guy has been in public service. He's been in the Senate for less than 2 fucking years. And that's all the political experience he has. Ugh. He's just a yes man. And that's the worst kind of people to put around Donald Trump. He's also a yes man that I think would absolutely 25th Amendment him and throw him to the dogs. And then you've got President Vance. And they would do it too. So you Trumpers who are like, yeah, Donald Trump's going to win again. I don't think he's going to be president for very long either way. I think your boy's going to get stabbed in the back by his own Judas. I think that J.D. Vance would absolutely run a 25th Amendment on him. And I guess to be nice, he might pardon him for his crimes when he becomes the new president. 48. So think about that for a second. Yuck. That should get you to vote. Vote blue, baby. Vote blue. I'm tired of the lies. I'm tired of the lies. When I was a kid, my mom told me not to lie. Never lie to me. Never lie to me because I see through it. Never lie to me because it's bad. She then said, if you ever want to learn to lie, you come to me because I've told every lie there is and I know. Now, it turns out that's just hyperbole. She had no idea what the fuck she was talking about. I lied to her plenty. And she did not catch me in all of those. But I tell you what happens with lies. When you lie, you have to learn. You have to live with that lie forever, or you have to come clean about it eventually. There's no in between. So when you go into a job interview and you lie about some experience that you've had, you have to maintain that lie for the entire time you're at that job if you get it. If you lie to, your partner and about something that happened in your past, you have to own that. You have to own that lie, or you have to come clean about it at some point. And honesty is really important to, most people. At least I thought it was. Now I'm not so sure. I think it's important in people who want to be leaders, because if you can't trust someone, it makes it really hard for them to lead. This is a dangerous time, so be safe. All right? It starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with, the smallest of circles. But you be a good human, because it's the least you can do, and it spreads from one person to the next, and it'll make our world a better place. Start with you. It's the old Michael Jackson song, "Man in the Mirror." It's a good song. I don't endorse his private life, but "Man in the Mirror" is a good tune, good track. And on that bizarre note, thank you all for listening. I appreciate you all so very much. Hopefully I'll be back soon. My world is busy, hectic, busy. I did watch the Clippers lose their home opener last night. It was a heartbreaking but fun watch. I had a really good time watching the game, so that made me very happy, even though we lost. It is what it is. And I love you guys. I want you to be safe out there and try to be good. All right?